Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Linda Russo, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our network, the program I work for, and one of the groups that we will be joining with us with the upcoming Advocacy Day. I'll share the names of the programs and the acronyms we use to shorten them as we talk. The Alabama Developmental Disabilities Network, or the DD Network, was formed out of the DD Act. It includes the Alabama Council on Developmental Disabilities, or ACDD, located in Montgomery, the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities Education, Research, and Service, the UCEDD, located within the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and the Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program, ADAP, located in Tuscaloosa. These three programs all serve a different and unique group of people with disabilities within Alabama. The first DD network partner we will highlight is the one that I work for. Alabama's UCEDD unites faculty and students from multiple departments and disciplines. We conduct research and train the next generation of healthcare leaders from over 13 different clinical and non-clinical disciplines. The education and training components emphasize both the psychoeducational and medical home model using evidence-based, family-centered care in an interdisciplinary setting. The curriculum addresses issues in prevention, early detection, assessment, care coordination, and treatment. A joint collaborative project of the DD Network is Partners in Policymaking Alabama. We refer to that as PIPA or Partners. PIPA is a leadership training program designed for individuals with developmental disabilities and family members. Partners believes that the most significant and lasting public policy decisions come from the efforts of those most affected by them. Upon completion of Partners, participants will have developed the knowledge and skills needed to be advocates for opportunities and supports that promote self-determination, independence, and integration in all aspects of community life for themselves and others. Partners is now in its 5th year and trains between 20 and 25 individuals and family members each year. Our network is excited about providing this opportunity and hope you can be involved with it at some point. I will put all this information in the chat, and now I will turn it over to our next speaker who will help you improve your advocacy skills.
Thank you so much, Linda. We appreciate that information. I know going forward, we're going to have a lot of advocates and a lot of self-advocates who are going to be really excited about legislative advocacy and learning how to develop relationships with their legislators. At the Arc of Alabama, that's something that we really get excited about. Tim Cooper, he is our executive director at the Arc of Alabama, and he's going to share with you some of the bills that are related to the disability community that are on the table this year in 2026. And so as soon as we finish the first part of our training, which is how a bill becomes a law, we're going to toss it over to our executive director, Tim Cooper, to discuss some of the bills that we're closely watching as they move throughout the chambers. So the first part of this training focuses on what to do when you think you might have some idea of a law that might need to be changed or amended or even created. And so with that in mind going forward, the first thing you would need to do is contact one of your representatives or one of your senators or both. And so we're going to focus these trainings on how to understand who your representatives are, the district that you live in, the area that they cover, and how to get in touch with them. So the first part of this is the how the bill becomes a law training, and that's a really simple process in Alabama. It's not that complicated. You just need to know every bill has what they call a sponsor or two or multiple sponsors. But when a bill is presented as an idea, then the first thing to do is I need to contact one of my representatives, preferably one who lives in your area and or one who is a unique, experienced professional in that area. And so every bill that is presented has to go before the Appropriations Committee before it can be read or heard and so or introduced. And so the Appropriations Committee is what decides whether or not the bill or what wants to become a law would have any kind of budgetary concessions attached to it. And from there, that bill, if it does have any kind of budgetary concerns or concessions attached to it, must start in the House of Representatives. And so you would want your sponsor to be able to put that bill forward in the House first. If it does not have any budgetary considerations, then you do not have to start it in the House of Representatives. It can be introduced for the first time in the Senate. And so every bill, once it has been introduced either into the House or to the Senate, has to have what they call an introduction or a first reading. And after that first reading, the bills are dropped or put into a basket. And then the leadership can assign to them which committee will hear their bill. These committees are made up of several different people throughout the Senate and House of Representatives based on their particular area of expertise. So, for example, a medical bill would go to the Healthcare Committee, or a school bill that has to do with education or training and students would go to the Education Policy Committee, or a legal bill would go to the Legal Committee. And so, wherever that bill is going to go to that committee to be read, it gets put there after it has been introduced the first time for its second reading in that committee. And during that committee, the people on the committee will discuss the bill and any amendments that may be offered or voted upon. And once those amendments or not are recommended or suggested, that bill must be voted upon by the committee so that it can either be passed and given a favorable report within that committee, or if it does not make it out of committee, then it's deemed as failing or it did not get a favorable report and it becomes tabled or dead. And so when the bill does not get a favorable report, it cannot advance. It must get a favorable report out of each committee to advance to the next step, wherever it has started. So if we have a bill that has been introduced on the House floor and then received a favorable report in whichever committee it was assigned to, the third step is for it to go to the next chamber. So if it started in the House, the next step would be for it to start in the Senate and be heard and read on the Senate floor chamber. And at that point, the bill is debated on the floor. Any more amendments that may be offered have to be voted on for acceptance or rejection. And then finally, the members of that chamber will vote on the final version of the bill. If that bill passes its third reading on the floor of the next chamber, then it can go to the governor to veto if she so chooses, or hopefully to sign into law. And so that is the process. It's 1, 2, 3 readings, the first chamber, the committee, and then the next chamber. And it starts all over again in the second chamber. So it has to be read 3 times within each chamber. Now, what if a bill has multiple committees that are concerned? So if you have a bill that involves not only the Health Committee, but the Education Committee as well, then those committees will each have a turn in able to process and move that bill forward as they see fit. One important thing to remember is that there is a Rules Committee, and the Rules Committee will determine where that bill gets placed on the calendar to be read on the floor for a vote. So if a bill gets placed at the end of a legislative calendar year, the bill will be waiting for its vote toward the end of that legislative session. If the Rules Committee chooses to put a bill on the front of a calendar year, then it could be read pretty early during the legislative session. And so it's very important for you to be able to understand how to follow the process of a bill. Even if you can't be there in person and you can't go and watch the bills as they're voted upon in each chamber, you can go and watch online. And that's always fun to do too. You would need to look up AllisonLegislator.org. And so Allison is spelled Alison. It's like the name Allison, but just one L instead of two. And so when you go to Allison, you can see it will guide you through who your representatives are, which districts they serve in, which bills they have sponsored, and where they are on the calendar, where they are in that process of moving from the floor to the governor's desk to be signed. So that's how a bill becomes a law. And if you have any questions about how a bill becomes a law, please let us know, and we'll be sure to answer them as this training progresses. The last thing we want to do is introduce Mr. Tim Cooper, our Executive Director for the ARC of Alabama. He's going to go over some of the things that we're watching this legislative session. Shannon Shelley Tremblay is here with us as well. She's with the Alabama Disability and Advocacy Program. Although it is housed by the University of Alabama, its offices and its work is statewide, just like UCEDD. And Mr. Darrell Powell is with us as well. He's with the Alabama Council on Developmental Disabilities, which is housed in Montgomery. But just like the rest of the DD network, the work happens all over the state. And so this is what Mr. Powell oversees. These three agencies are very excited, and we are proud to partner with these three agencies at the ARC of Alabama each year as we move forward with Alabama's Disability Advocacy Day. So please let us know by putting your questions in the chat or sending us an email. You can send questions to kspangler@thearcofal.org, and we will get those answered via email or our next training. I'm happy to offer the floor to Mr. Tim Cooper, our Executive Director, as we conclude this year's training on how a bill becomes a law, and then we start the planning process for this year's 2026 Advocacy Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for that education training. And keep in mind as I go over these bills that the process she just talked about, where they go in committee, get a favorable report, move out to the floor, out of the chamber. When I tell you where these bills are at in the legislation process, you'll understand. The first bill that we're looking at that came up very quickly this session is House Bill 66. Each bill is assigned a number, whether HB is the House side, SB is the Senate side. So each one of them is assigned a number until it becomes a bill, and then it'll get its own bill number. But the first one that really came up quick is HB 66, and that deals with your driver's license or your non-driving ID having a special symbol or like the star that we have to travel with, some kind of special symbol going on your driver's license or photo ID that shows that law enforcement person or someone that asks for your ID that you may have a disability that might cause you to have a kind of a meltdown, as we call it, or an episode that you might not be able to communicate with them. And that way they'll go back to their training that they've been having. So far, that House has got a committee favorable report, and now it's moved on to the House floor to be voted on by our House of Representatives. Another bill is HB 101 that goes a little bit further than just having the little symbol on the driver's license. It's putting a tag on the back of your car. If you've ever been down the road and seen the tags that say Auburn, Alabama, or colleges that have those specialized tags or the handicap tags in the back, this tag would let law enforcement people know that there's an individual in this car that might need some assistance in communicating. In this bill also, that's kind of been in discussion, is the proceeds of the sale of these tags, because your parents or people that your guardians have to pay a little bit extra to get this tag. And those proceeds go to a nonprofit agency that I won't name, but it'll go to them to help kind of offset the training kits that they've been giving out to previous laws that allowed policemen, firefighters, and ambulance drivers or people that work on the ambulance to get special training on how to handle special situations. There was some opposition to this or wanting to word change. So basically, the representative that had put this bill on the floor has decided to carry it over temporarily, which means she's putting it on pause until she gets some things worked out. The first of two guardianship bills have come up. HB 249 is it deals with guardianships and conservatorships to name the kind of give some guidelines on, so when there's a problem with a guardian or there's something come up that's not being done right, sometimes they've automatically gone straight from the probate judge who handles all these cases straight to a higher court. Well, this bill kind of lays some guidelines so that you as an individual or your family or your guardian has rights to slow that process down to make sure things are done correctly. And that bill got a favorable report from the committee, and it's on the floor to be passed. And with that, in the Senate side of the second chamber, there's a bill that's kind of what they call sister bills, which means it's the same bill, but it's the Senate side picking it up to get it closer to a bill. Is SB 83, and there's it'll be what's called a hearing in its committee. In other words, they'll present that bill to that committee on the 11th, which is Wednesday. The other guardianship bill is the Parents' Bill of Rights that gives parents and guardians and individuals the rights laid out for them about guardianships, and that has not come up into committee discussion yet. And none of these bills we think will slow down our supported decision-making process. Something that'll help us is a Senate Bill 94. It's been a favorable report out of the committee and passed on to be on the floor. And that's where, when you pull into a handicap parking spot and you hang the decal or you have a tag on the back, well, if you don't have one of those, you get a ticket and you have to pay a fine. Well, the proceeds of that fine has been raised, or the amount of it's been raised, and the proceeds has been deemed to go to the Alabama Department of Mental Health, which is what the developmental disability side is on. Then the last one, there were two of them, two of the last ones, and I'll be real quick. One of them is absentee voting. Is if you're not able to read the ballot or you don't understand the ballot, this bill will allow you to designate somebody, your guardian or somebody in your group home or an aunt or uncle, to go pick this ballot up for you and bring it to you sealed. You open it up, you vote, and you send it back, and they can help you understand the communications or what you're voting for. And then lastly, those of you that have a wheelchair, and sometimes those tear up. And that bill, I'm sorry, with absentee voting was HB 45. I'm sorry. And then the wheelchair bill is HB 258, and it has not been talked about in a committee. It's where when you need your wheelchair fixed, that number one, Medicaid covers it so it could quickly be repaired and you're back in your regular chair, not some substitute chair that they might give you. And that the person doing the repairs has to do it in a timely manner so you're not without your chair for 6 or 7 or 8 months. It's a timely repair. So that was not come up yet, but it almost passed last year, so we're hoping that it gets through this year. But that's some of the major bills that we're looking at, and that will help us or help you as individuals and your quality of life. So, Daryl or Shannon, y'all know of anything else that you could add to that?
I think you did a great job of synthesizing the biggest, the ones that have come to everyone's light at this point. I know there are a couple of others that people have questions about, and I'm not prepared yet to share with them because they've just come to our attention this week, as in today, on Monday. But we are happy to help with reviewing those as they come up and appreciate anyone who reaches out. Also happy to help people strategize, just as the ARC is doing and the rest of the DD Council members, around providing input and so forth. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. You did a great job.
And Tim, I echo what Ms. Shannon has said. So I think you did a great job on capturing those immediate bills that impact people in the state of Alabama. So we thank you.
Kim, back to you.
All right. Thank you all so very much for joining us for this very first recorded legislative training. We hope to move forward throughout the month as we gear up for Advocacy Day 2026. And we go ahead and get these trainings recorded and distributed to everybody that wants to participate. This year for Disability Advocacy Day, we are going to be at the State House in the front lawn, as we always are, on February 25th. That is a Wednesday. And so Wednesday, February 25th is the big day where we all rally around together to support the legislators that have brought these bills forward in getting the word out about how they would affect the community of people that we serve. And we support each other in lifting the voices of those who have intellectual, developmental, or really any kind of disability in the state of Alabama. And so we're really excited as we move forward. If you have questions or if you want to get copies of the things that we have talked about and the things that we have shared, please email us at kspangler@thearcofal.org, and we will be happy to get those to you. I've shared my screen with a little bit of what you can see from our training on how a bill becomes a law. And that's basically an easy read for those of you that can read the screen that way. We'll be happy to put it in print going forward. We'll be passing these out on Legislative Advocacy Day for anybody that wants their own copy. They are shared by the Eagle Forum of Alabama, and they are happy to let us distribute these as they have been printed. The list that Tim, our executive director, just went through is a section of all of the bills that we're watching. There are at least 10 to 12 more, but those are the ones that we are very hopeful for as we support them to be passed, and believe that they'll have a pretty big impact on our community going forward. As the legislative session advances, we'll learn about more. Different amendments will be suggested, and we'll keep you informed as we can. So our next training will be again on a Monday. These trainings are going to be one Monday after the other until we get to our Legislative Advocacy Day. And those are going to be every Monday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it'll be a lot like the one you just experienced as we introduce our DD Network partners and how we work with them at the Arc of Alabama going into Legislative Advocacy Day. The big part about Legislative Advocacy Day is that it's for everybody. It's not just for one group of people, it's for anybody and everybody, whether you represent one of the agencies mentioned or a different agency. If you want to help lift the voices of people with disabilities in the state of Alabama, then you need to help and participate in Legislative Advocacy Day this way, not just by doing some of the planning with us, but by showing up on Wednesday, February 25th, as we rally together. We get to meet and greet some of these representatives and senators bringing these bills to the floor for a vote. And then we go inside the State House to tell our own representatives, whoever lives in your district, where it is that you live, what you think about these bills and how to bring them to their attention. So it's really all about developing relationships, not just with each other, but with our legislators, so that we can make Alabama a better place to live for people with disabilities. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your participation this way. If there's anything else that we can do for you, don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email. You can reach out to the Arc of Alabama by dialing area code 334-262-7688. And we can get you in touch with anybody from our DD network, and we'll be happy to connect you that way going forward. Thank you.